And welcome to another episode of My Idaho Friends. As always, I am your host, Jaime Lima. And also, as always, big shout out, big many thanks and gratitudes to Argos Productions, the team, Erica, Justin, sweet baby James out in the back, making sure that everything's working, making sure we look good, and making sure that we stay on the air. Also, do not forget, if you need any work in order to promote your company, your business, your art, or anything else in between, Argos Productions is the team to go with. You need film feature stuff, you need stuff for your social media, you need any sort of like content creation, Argos Productions can help you out. So make sure that if you're watching either on our YouTube or any other of our social media channels, that you check out the link and you make sure you send them out a little message and see what it is that they can do for you. So today is a special sauce type of day. We're not going live. This is pre-recorded. We're trying something new this year, and I get the pleasure and the honor to have my buddy all the way from back in the day in high school, Rich Tate. Rich, thank you for being here with us today.
Yo, what's up, Jaime? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been talking about for like the last couple of years here and there to see if I can finally get you on.
When did we first talk about it?
Oh goodness gracious! Well, it was most certainly pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
We had launched the first 2 pilot episodes, and I think we had run into each other somewhere as I was being a social butterfly with my previous line of work. And we talked about, your line of work and, I'm working in the family business, which we'll dive in a little bit.
Sure.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, like if I can, that doesn't get any more Idaho than that.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I could just get you on the show. And then we went ahead, you called me like, not like super crazy late, but it was like at 9:30 at night. Because we're friends, but we don't like hang out like all the time. We're not I don't expect you to know like my middle name.
Yeah, I want to hang out with you all the
I know.
time. We're just busy guys.
We're just busy, because we're adults now and like spouses and children. So I'm not trying to make you look bad. But you called at 9:30. I was like, oh, like that's cool. What's up, Rich? And then you were sharing that story like before we started filming that we're trying to remember.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out because we have to try to squeeze it into this episode because it's a feel good story, and I think it highlights the sense of community that one can create through work. It's not when people talk about like what's your company's culture. I think like that is a great example of the culture that everybody in your work family and your family has cultivated over many, many years here in our great state of Idaho.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, go ahead and please tell everybody at home watching, who is Rich Tate and what is it that he does?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, Rich Tate, born and raised in Boise, Idaho, lived out of the state for a little bit after high school, and now work in my family's business, M&W Markets. If you're local to Boise, you've probably seen the store out on Warm Springs. Most of our stores are in rural Idaho, up in the mountains, out in the country, stuff like that.
And that's also important because you are quite the outdoors man yourself.
Oh, 100%.
What is it that you like to enjoy doing?
Yeah, fly fishing, skiing with friends, skiing with the kids, that sort of thing.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna dive back into where you're at right now, in the family business that has been around again for several years. We'll start chipping out at that in a little bit, but where were you, 10 years ago? Like what was Rich Tate up to?
So 10 years ago, I was actually working for the YMCA out Pearson, Kitsap County, so Puget Sound, Washington.
Wow.
When you talk about community and things like that, a lot of my feelings about that stem from my time with the YMCA. I grew up swimming for the Y, as you remember.
I do remember.
Here in Boise, ended up swimming at Cal after high school. Went to work for the YMCA out in Washington. was an aquatics director, started a swim team, should say restarted a swim team out there. It was really exciting. Deep history in that swim pool. Actually, an Olympian that swam at Cal shortly after I did came out of that pool, and
Wow.
a couple other Olympians as well before him. So the pool had some history. It didn't have a swim team. Went to work, put one together. Worked my way up through the Y program there. And it was,
That's pretty
I don't
awesome.
know if you know that background.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. This
Yeah.
is where this is so exciting. My Idaho friends, right? But I still get to like learn so many new things because, like you mentioned earlier, like we are busy. We are very, very busy, and like we don't get time to hang out. And now we have no choice.
Yeah.
And now you get to share something really cool that otherwise, like, why would you have brought that up?
Cheers,
It's like,
buddy.
yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that. Because when you're talking, there's some history on that pool. I love anything that deals with lineage.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you can start dive into that, and on a previously existing heritage and then add on top of that, like those are words that have some very heavy meanings, and when you're talking about developing world-class athletes.
Yeah.
From the YMCA, that's a cool story to tell.
Yeah, it was just a neat situation. There's a lot of really positive influences out there. And I was fortunate to have a really good executive to work for that was behind it, and people in the community just were down with it, and we got a lot of support. We ended up with just a tremendous coach. It was really serendipitous. She was leaving one program at the time that I wanted to pitch this idea. Kind of some people put us together and things rolled out, and it was, something I'm really proud of.
As you should be.
Put
That's
together
awesome,
other
man.
great programs. We started a third grade swim program, based that on the program here that the Treasure Valley YMCA started, and it's a learn to swim program for all third graders. I was in Bremerton, Washington, and we got every third grader in the schools out there through Learn to Swim program.
Dude,
Partnership.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's also a big, heavy impact. One of the very unfortunate statistics that we have here in the state of Idaho, and I'm trying to remember the numbers, but it's rather high when it comes to like children drowning.
Yeah.
Because all the canals and rivers and lakes, people are like, oh, like you guys are landlocked. Yeah, we're landlocked, but we are very rich on, fresh water. And, all it takes is just not even 1 minute, but like half of that, if not less, of just not paying attention because you're busy and kids move quick. You know this. I know this. And something unfortunate can happen. So that's a great program.
Yeah, life jackets save lives, and every kid should learn to swim.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is not about me, but my children, I put them as soon as I could in I always get the acronym ISR.
Mm-hmm.
So like self-rescue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like when you always watch like the promo videos for any programs like that around anywhere really, not just the country. It's just like some baby and like just like gets dunked in the pool.
Did it work?
And it's like turns around and comes.
Did they do it?
Yeah. The boys did it. Both my sons. I mean, my oldest is 6, and he can swim the width of the pool and back.
Oh, nice.
So he'll touch the wall and push off. And,
that's great.
But he's not doing like freestyle or like anything like that. He just does his, he'll swim, he pull his face down and he'll do some strokes and then he'll be like, okay, relax. Okay, I'm getting tired. Flips around on his back.
That's the key. Yeah.
And then he'll just hang out, catch his breath because he knows that if he's not relaxed, he's not going to float.
Yeah.
Gets his breath back, turns around, and then starts kicking again. And he'll do that like 4 times, and it's pretty impressive because I couldn't do it as a child. I didn't learn to swim until much later.
When did you learn to swim?
Great question, Rich.
Yeah.
So
put you on the spot.
Yeah, because there's a story that has been shared previously on a different episode with a fellow veteran, Dan Nelson, who's the director for the Aaron Butler Purple Heart Memorial Run. So hopefully we'll be having him soon. He's also directly involved with Mission 43, which is a great nonprofit organization that helps out veterans. I believe you're aware of them too. I think I recall one time you cooking chili for them or something along those lines. I'm not making that up, right?
I don't remember.
Okay, I also drink a lot. I know you don't, but maybe that's what it was. I imagined it. I shouldn't say things like that on camera. Anywho, my wife's...
I used to drink a lot, so we could have been there together. Yeah.
My wife's like, you people are going to think you have a drinking problem. I was like, no, it's just like once a week. It's not a big deal. Anyway, getting back to your question, because I'm going off into a deep end about Dan Nelson and the great guy that he is. So I truly, honestly learned how to appropriately swim when I attended my quiz, which is the Marine Corps instructor of water survival school. And that is really not the time nor the spot that you want to learn how to swim. And you do have to pass a screening. So I could swim freestyle, and I forget what it is. You have to do like, I don't know. It's like I forget, it's like 300 or 500 meters until like X amount of time. Yeah. In order for you to be able to attend the course, and maybe like one or two other things. You have to swim with a brick. I forget if it's like a 5-pound or 10-pound brick, and then you have to swim the length of the pool, making sure that the brick doesn't go inside the water. Yeah. And I think there might be another one where there's another one in which you have to. It's not the full length of the pool. That's what it used to be, but they shortened it out. I think maybe like halfway through the pool, you're supposed to like go in and then just like swim underwater all the way till then. And if you pass that screener, then you can attend the 2-week course. I believe it's just 2 weeks. Yeah. And I did not make it the first time. I mean, I was able to swim. I trained enough for like passing the screener. Yeah. But I was very my ego got the best of me.
Oh yeah, you're a little overconfident.
Very overconfident. I have been, I've been peeing excellence for like years at that time. And I, a lot of like my community, back in that unit, a lot of it had to do with like an amphibious routes. Sure. And yeah, like I could tread water for like a really, really long time because you just kind of relax and stuff like that. But you're just by yourself in the pool. Put a bunch of people shoulder to shoulder with you and you can tread water like this. You're not so relaxed anymore. And that's what was happening. And I got my ass kicked. And didn't make it. Put a huge like it was definitely not, I don't want to say the catalyst, but it was the beginning of the end when I knew that I was like, okay, I'm probably gonna transition out because I have gone through so many courses, right? And so it's done like multiple like deployments and all this other stuff while I was in the Marine Corps. Yeah. And this one thing that it has nothing to do with any of the SOCOM programs that I've been a part of, none of those things like the fancy schools or anything like that. This is just a regular school that is open to anybody in the military, in the Marine Corps. And it's a real kick on the face, and it was super, sometimes you have to eat like a slice of humble pie.
So did you actually get into the program?
Yes, so I came back. My oh gosh, Gunnery Sergeant A. Pelton, he's like, you have to come back. Like you need to go again, and you need to get that monkey off your back, per se. And he helped. And this time it was different because then not all, but some of the people that I work with, they were trying to like set me up for success. Mm-hmm. And I was like swimming like in the dive tank.
So you trained for it
this time, but I trained hard. Yeah. Like I had, he gave me like this like 25-pound bumper plate, and he's like, swim. And I was, I was like, no, like swim, like now. And it was one of those things where like I'm dragging this thing and just swimming, and then I get to the wall, like, okay, that's half a lap. Okay, now go. Like, all right, and then like you do it 5 times, then you do it 10 times, and you're just like, again? Like, and it's a dive tank, so like there's like a shallow end, like the width of this table.
Right.
And then everything else is like 12 to 15 feet deep.
Yeah.
And you just, you start going like, man. So, and again, this is not about me, but it's a story that it's crazy and it's wild. I attended a second time. The second time I passed. But it had put a bit of a smudge on my my reputation within my command, and then it was one of those things where like I thought a lot of my peers were gonna have my back, and my command was gonna be like, oh, how dare you, and it was the complete opposite. And I was just like, it was a little disheartening, you know, it's a little heartbreaking. It was a really hard, probably the hardest thing that I experienced in my military career, which is weird to say because I've been to Iraq 3 times for combat. I've been to Afghanistan, and I've been to all these other places that end with N. And that's
the hardest
that it was
thing
not.
you experienced.
Yeah, that's not what like was keeping me up at night. It was this. It was the experience, the panic attack that I got underwater during the first time that I was training. And then the second thing, I say as much because what happened is I ended up quitting. Yeah. So it's like the ringing of the bell, right? And that was like something that a lot of the peers in my command, notice I didn't say friends. My friends had my back, and people that had deployed with me had my back. Yeah. But there was just a lot. It's an ego-driven business, you know, and like you're running with a pack, and then all of a sudden you're not, and nothing like a little bit of adversity to find out who your real friends are.
So true.
So my wolf pack got very, very small. You know, it's kind of like that comedy, the Hangover. You know, I was a one-man wolf pack. It kind of like brought back down. It was very humbling, and I was able to get through it. My wife helped me tremendously. We were married at the time, a fairly new couple. It's like, okay, you're in the military now, Madeline, because you're my wife. Surprise! And, so it was somewhat like the beginning of the end, because then I was like, you know, like I put in a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears into this organization, and you know, this is the one thing that you're gonna go ahead and like dink me on. And I was like, then you know, maybe I can go be successful somewhere else. So it wasn't right away, but that was like a very long tale about how I learned to swim. And I'm very good at it now, even to this day. Awesome. Like I don't go and like train very often, but when I first got here, when I first transitioned from the military into the civilian sector, that's something that I did a lot. Like I will go to the Treasure Valley, you know, downtown Boise, and I would just do laps until like my alarm went off, like 45 minutes, and it was just like time to go to work.
That's good cardio.
It's good everything, and it's good it's nice on the knees, which is what I really need, because my knees are just trashed. So transitioning to swimming was a great thing. So that's how I learned how to swim.
It's a good story.
My quiz, structure of water survival. I don't recommend it. Everybody that graduates, right, gets like not everybody, but a lot of people gets like the kick-ass emblem of the school, which is a hammer shark. And you either get like the outline of a hammer shark as you're like watching it swim from above, you know, underwater. Yeah. Or there's like this even more hardcore one where it's just like, if you Google it, there's all these images, and there's like this like caricature of a shark with a, you know, an automatic, you know, weapon system. It's got a saw. And like a Marine Corps tattoo on his shoulder, and I forget. I think it's sometimes like having like, you know, smoking a cigar or something with like a little hat. I didn't get any of that. I kid you not, I went online and I Googled fat.
They give you one with water wings or something?
No, I Googled fat annoyed shark.
Yeah.
That's what I Googled, and then ran like an image search for that. And then like all these like flash artwork and stuff like that. And then there was one from like a it looked like out of like a kid's storybook. And it's supposed to be a shark. Doesn't really look like a shark. Looks like it's just a big fat fish. Right. And it's like very annoyed. Yeah. Like it has a very terribly look in the face. And then that's what I got. And then I put my quiz and the number of my class adjacent to it. It's like that was my and I left. I got that as I never want to forget. And I wouldn't want like my kids to go through an experience like that, but it has made me a much better human to be humbled down and to be broken down. So it was a very nasty experience, and I don't recommend it for anyone. Not the course, but like the aftermath, right? Like the loss of, like my loss of community due to like, you know, the performance on something that like, it's not like I was swimming 24/7 when I was, you know, deploying to all these, you know, sandy areas. But it's also that something that was thrown at my face. Oh, you should have found your time on your own to get better at that. I was like, yeah, man, that's true. But I was newly married. I was spending time with my wife. Yeah. I was just like, like we were getting to like know each other even better. So I was like, no, dude, it's all good. You go ahead and get better at it. That's fine. So
the last time I swam, well, other than with my kids, I was mountain biking with my brother up at Jug Mountain in McCall. Mm-hmm. You pay like $30 and you can ride this vehicle up to the top of the downhill courses, which is pretty sweet. Well, my brother gets bored, so he starts riding his bike up. You met this couple up there, and they asked him if he could swim. And there was going to be this Xterra Triathlon. Do you know what that is? It's the off-road triathlon. So you swim a mile and you do a bike ride. It's like mountain biking, trail running. Anyways, this couple, they lost their swimmer. And so my brother had agreed to swim a mile for him in this triathlon the next day. So I get to the top and get off this truck. If this is any indication, so I'm riding the truck up to the top to ride my bike down. My brother's riding his bike because he's getting bored on the truck. Right? Mm-hmm. So my brother pawns this off on me. He's like, you want to do this? Yeah, come on. So he talks me into accepting this leg of the relay. And even when I was the best shape of my life, I was still a sprinter, excuse me.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
so
you were just
like
fast.
20 seconds was like my wheelhouse. Yeah. It's not a mile. So I'm like, I start freaking out. I'm like, I don't have any Speedos to wear. I can't do this in board shorts. Like, everybody's going to be wearing wetsuits, which make you more buoyant. It's easier to swim. Yeah. I don't have a wetsuit to wear. I call up a friend's dad who's up in McCall. He's got a Speedo for me. I track down some goggles, show up the next day, go out. First 500 yards, I'm just killing it. Like, front of the pack, feeling really good. And then the piano just hit me. And I just got passed for like another 1,000 yards, just getting passed, dude. Just ego beat down the whole way to the finish. Dude. I finished, I was so dead. So dead.
But you finished.
Zero training. It was awful.
That is funny. That reminds me of the first time I ran a half marathon. It was the YMCA potato run. Yeah. And my friend Kylie from Lost Grove is like, hey, like, you want to run with me? Like, I lost, like, my friend, and I'm just, like, I was at the time still working at New York Live. I'm having a beer at the bar. This is way before COVID. Yeah. It's 2-3 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And she's like, really? Like, you will? I was like, yeah, when is it? And he's like, she's like, the day after tomorrow. I'm like, I used to run, you know? And it's like, no big deal. So she was like, so have you, like, do you, like, run on the regular? And it's like, no, I should get some shoes. And she's like, you don't have shoes? It's like, that's so cool, man. Like, there's that spot on State Street over by 15th or 19th or whatever, the little marketplace. I'll get some shoes. Yeah. Like, we're on, man. No big deal. And no kidding, the previous night, it was a work function. We were networking. It was a happy hour thing. So I'm like, 2 beers and a whiskey sour in on a Friday, and then I'm like, oh man, I run tomorrow because it's a Saturday morning, and like you have to get there like at the buck crack of dawn so you can get the bus that drives you out to Lucky Peak or whatever. And I was like, yeah, and I cannot be late because I'm meeting her at the brewery so we can drive together. I'm like, oh man, so I get no sleep. I start getting nervous. I'm like, oh man, like I should put this on and maybe like break them in a little bit.
You didn't even put your shoes on before you're running.
So I'm like walking around with my running shoes in the kitchen, like my kids and my wife's like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm running the potato. And my wife, Madeline, she was a runner. She was a distance runner. So she's like...
a good one.
Yeah,
too.
a very
really
good one too.
One.
Like, you know, like captain of the team when she was in college and everything.
Yeah.
And she's just like, okay. Like, you know, like, you know, married to me for some time now. She's just never surprised. I was like, I got it, honey. I still got it. And she's like drinking her tea. Drinking her tea. Oh man, I met up with Kylie the next morning and we did that run and it was miserable. I mean, I did it. I forget.
When did you start hurting?
I think I started hurting when there was like about 3 miles left.
Yeah.
Because in my mind's eye, not my mind's eye, but like when I had seen the course, you go behind the Albertsons Foundation building right there on the Greenbelt.
Yeah, Park Center.
Yeah, Park Center. And it pushes you on the Greenbelt, and then it has you do a loop all the way around through like the other part where like the fish, where the fish tanks are at, not the fish tanks.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Where you used to Fish and Game. Yeah, thank you. What's it called again?
The Nature Center?
The Nature Center.
Yeah, behind Fish and Game.
Yeah, behind Fish. So you have to like run all the way past that and then go by M&W up on Warm Springs.
Yeah, Warm Springs.
And then there's a trail there that brings you back in towards the Greenbelt. You go across one of the bridges, you know, across the Boise River, and then brings you back to the Albertsons building. And that's what the finish line was. So there was like 3-4 miles left. Mm-hmm. But I had seen as I was running back, I didn't know there was going to be a whole nother extra
You
loop.
didn't know about the loop?
I didn't know about that. Well, because I never...
You thought you were almost done.
Because I thought I was done. Like, I didn't look at the course because I was like, you know, just run and it's going to be a circle and then you're done, you know? And like, I saw people like eating corn dogs and stuff. And like, and I was just like, man. Like,
corn dogs on your mind.
It was so awful. And then as I was running, through Warm Springs, Kylie just like starts leaving me behind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm keeping you company, man. Like, I like running, and and she did actually train. So now I'm like, now my ego is like, no, you gotta keep up with her. You gotta keep up with her. And when there's like about, oh my gosh, not even 1,000 meters left, she just leaves me behind.
Oh,
she just
ditched you.
She ditched me. So now I'm like trying to get after her, and then she beat me by something silly. It was like 20 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
Fast forward, because gosh, this story shouldn't be this long. But then next year we do it again. But this time I train. But this time I overtrain. And I know better. I know that I'm supposed to take some time off prior to the race. But I was like, I didn't injure myself, but I did like a for fun, like quick 5-miler the day prior to the race. Just because I was just, it's really embarrassing. It was just like kind of like a creature of habit type of thing. We're like, oh, I'm gonna wake up and go for a run. And as I'm halfway through my run, I race tomorrow. And I was like, I'm fine, you know. And I think at the time I'm 39, and that one hurt. And all that training and all that other jazz. This time she doesn't beat me. I beat her, and then I came in like a whole like 30 seconds faster. I was just like, I'm never doing this again. My knees got all swollen. I was just like, oh. Anyway, swimming, running, like it's
good stuff.
Good stuff. But yeah, you know, it has made me a better person. You know, I'm sure it's made you a better person.
Yeah.
You know, and now that we're dads, it's I like to think that if my son any of my sons had ever had to go through anything similar to what I went through, not just with the swimming, because the swimming is a catalyst for the conversation of like, because I'm a little salty about it. I don't know if you can tell. You know, because maybe had it not been that way, maybe I wouldn't have pivoted out, but I'm glad I did. and I honestly believe has made me a better friend, husband, father, and all those things in between. So
For sure.
cheers to life experiences and that. What's up, Erica?
It's about 1:30. If you want to make sure that you key on some of the stuff that you wanted to.
Okay, so that was the past, and we ended up talking about me somehow. That's
Sure.
not cool.
Sorry, dude.
That's not cool. So, family business, M&W.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to us about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, so some background. I got to kind of jump way back. So
Do it.
my family settled in the Boise area late 1800s. So this was my family's homestead over on Geckler. David Geckler was the first come out there. Eventually, my family got into the dairy business. So when my dad grew up out in southeast Boise, we still had cows roaming and a big farm out there. And over time, my great-grandfather and grandfather developed that area, what is now Lakewood, and Timberline and the schools out there. So our office is actually in our old milking barn. So the barn was built about 1890-ish. There's some cool pictures
That's awesome.
that we've got there in the office. We have an apartment complex around the outside of it now. So if you're ever driving down Geckler and see Geckler Farms Apartments, our office is the
Right.
barn in the middle of that. And the old adobe house, the original house, is just on the other side of the clubhouse there in the apartments, and it still stands. We've got some old pictures of that.
That's awesome.
So that's a little bit of history.
Yeah.
So family came from dairy farming. Eventually, as southeast Boise grew and the area was developed, the cows were moved out to Grandview, had a few thousand acres out in Grandview. Dairy operations were there. Central office was where our corporate office is now for M&W Markets. And that was Triangle Dairy, Young's Dairies. There's a couple iterations of that.
Yeah.
We've still got an old crank start John Deere tractor and one of the old Divco milk trucks. My dad drove a milk truck to high school. He, no seat, you sat on a stool. Top speed, I don't know what it was, maybe 40 if you were pushing it. Like, you could really redline that thing. I imagine he's got some pretty good stories behind that one, driving that in high school. But yeah, we've still got an old milk truck. Family history comes out of the dairy business. M&W Markets was started in 1952. My family did not start it, but my family got involved. About 79 is, I think, when my grandfather acquired it. I believe he was an investor in it at one point and bought the whole business. It's changed over time. The grocery industry's changed immensely. So, bigger operators have come into, the more populated areas. And with our background in dairy farming and so forth, we feel very comfortable working in rural parts of the state. We're also in East Oregon. So the cows are now gone. That land got sold to Simplot some years ago, early, mid-2000s, somewhere in there. So no more cows, just pictures of cows. The grocery business has been really good to us. We've been growing. We're at 17 locations right now. We just acquired 4 in late December. Logan's Market, so those stores are in Vail, Oregon, Redmond, Oregon, which is right next to Bend, Filer, and Marsing. So those are 4 new stores. They've kept me pretty busy through the winter months here, just, getting them to adapt to our systems and so forth. That's a pretty general overview. We're also in the convenience store business. We've got convenience stores up in Cascade, McCall, Emmett, Fruitland. We've got a rad barbecue joint out in Fruitland.
What?
which we should probably go
Yeah, I
Go
want to go. I didn't
to
know that.
sometime. Yeah,
Please.
It's really good rustic pig barbecue out in Fruitland.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm not gonna let you forget.
it's really good. We're gonna be opening one up in Emmett here shortly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Emmett's growing. And
Oh,
there's just getting so
absolutely.
much traffic, and
Yeah.
it just keeps pushing out. I mean, Boise, it's getting to the point where you're only going to be able to build up anyway,
Oh yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it. And I like growth, because if you're not growing, you're either not moving or you're dying. So, but at the
Pretty
same
much.
time, I think
Yeah.
you would agree with me. Like, we don't want all of our wildlife to continue to get messed with by further developing stuff, at least not in a responsible manner.
Yeah, it's got to be done right.
Yeah, separate conversation.
For sure. Yeah, we could go down that.
Yeah, we go into
could
that
go
rabbit
down
hole.
that
It's
for
gonna
a
be
while.
just like
Yeah.
preaching to the choir between you
Yeah, I
and
think we agree. Yeah. Yeah, growth is good.
Yeah, growth is good.
Yeah.
Responsible
Responsible
growth. Yeah,
growth.
especially when everybody benefits from it, not just people coming from the outside, investors and whatnot, but also the local community.
Yeah.
No need to gentrify anything.
Yeah.
With that said, you touched, in the beginning of the recording. You guys are mostly in rural areas, right? Your grocery stores, and then there's also the convenience stores and
Yeah.
things along those lines. Do you think that has been part? I mean, there's several other things, but that's what maintain you guys competitive, compared to like all these much larger grocery, chains and markets and whatnot. Because I don't know that they're pushing any commercial real estate over there, so you get to serve these smaller communities, and maybe, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
asking.
it's certainly a niche.
Mhm.
There's a need for it. The way our stores operate, if you go into them, it feels a lot like a community center in these small towns, lower populations. It's a gathering place. It's a completely different feel than what you would get into walking into a store, say in Boise or something like that. You
You went in and
people,
out.
You see people talking and congregating. It's just a totally different vibe. And we feel comfortable there. We've got a lot of competition in the grocery market with Albertsons,
Right.
headquartered in Boise, Winco, headquartered in Boise. Those are two of the major players in the country,
Right.
and they don't like to lose.
And
They're very competitive, and we don't. The bottom line is we don't have the purchasing power that some place like Winco does, right? So our cost of goods is going to be higher. So we're not going to have the most competitive prices out there. We're going to give our customers the fairest price that we can give them. We operate on very slim margins, profit margins. If you're 1% at the end of the year, that's good. So
Wow.
it's volume business. We're growing. That's good.
Yeah.
And we just feel comfortable
That's cool.
where we're at.
That's awesome, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that the idea of when you're like, this is where you come over and you hang out.
Yeah.
It's just like, old Mrs. Nancy is gonna, run into old Mrs. Dorothy.
I mean,
I don't know why I went with Dorothy,
when
but
I'm
you know,
trying to carry on a conversation with one of our meat cutters, it's you got everybody that walks by is saying hi or interrupting, and gladly let them interrupt because
it's not just
our
your
people.
talk.
They communicate. They're not behind the glass and they're not
Right.
isolated. We encourage that and we want that. And they custom cut for people. They take phone call orders. I mean, we've got managers who we don't have the infrastructure to do online orders at this time. We're exploring the idea, but we don't have that built out. But our managers in a bunch of locations have taken it upon themselves to receive orders over the phone call. So We've got some older customers that have been really concerned about shopping the store during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be cautious.
Yeah.
And so we don't have an online order system. They just call the store up.
Yeah.
The manager pulls their order together, drives it to their house.
They call Johnny, they
It's-
probably all go to the same church,
Oh,
and
for
their
sure.
families, and
Yeah.
their kids
They all
go to
grew
school
up
with their
together.
grandkids. They
Yeah.
all grew up together,
Yeah.
and that is again. A lot of people say that can happen anywhere, but I say nay. That is a rural thing, but it's also a very Idaho thing, because you can even see that here in the city as well. Not so much like that, especially like you mentioned, like a big grocery store. Like I go into a big grocery store, like I know exactly what I'm getting, and I'm getting out. I'm in and out.
Yeah, blinders on.
Yeah, like
Getting it done. We're all busy, right?
Yeah. If it happens during the weekend now, like everybody's got somewhat of like the Whole Foods model, so that you can have like a glass of wine with your shopping cart. That has slowed me down a little bit.
Sure.
But that's why I don't go. I got wine at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool, and I'm glad you shared that. And we're gonna try. Okay, we were talking about it. We have to try to piece this story together,
Yeah,
Rich.
yeah.
We're gonna try. So, a couple of years ago, when I first approached you about this, you then went ahead and called me later at night, 9:30. Which, by the way, you're welcome to call me at any time. And you're like, Jaime, like I got this guy, and he just took it upon himself,
Yeah.
just the same way you're talking, like your work family, your managers taking the initiative and taking care of their own communities. They see them as family. It's a different relationship. A very old school relationship, something that has been missing, in a lot of places because of growth. But it was during the time, and I'm trying to remember as you're trying to remember too, but essentially government
it was up in council. It was our manager, David, store director, David Armstrong, up in council, just a tremendous individual. And he calls me up, and he's like, Rich, we've got a problem. I don't remember exactly what the problem is, but you refreshed my memory earlier. It had to do with SNAP EBT benefits,
Yes.
something like that.
Government
And
had come to a halt because something was not agreed upon in the Senate, and nobody got their benefits via the
people
mail.
weren't getting their.
They were not getting their money, their income.
People short on food. They needed food.
Yeah.
And David called me up and he said, Rich, I'm just doing this out of my own pocket. We've got people that need food up here, and we got to help them out. And I'm like, David, we got this covered. Like, don't use your own money. God bless you. But so we just ran credit accounts for these people that were short on food. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of details on it.
That's
but
okay. That's okay.
It was a really good story. I wish I'd written it down.
No, I know. We did a lot of things when we were younger, and now like having to remember things that happened not that long ago become a challenge.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the same guy. So we put some funds together, a couple weeks ago, and we were able to give up in council $3,500 to the local food bank and senior center. Ran a credit on their account for him.
Dude,
He just pushes for his community up there. It's really cool.
that's leadership from within, and taking care of the people that take care of you.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see that sometimes, and I'm just so stoked that you called and you highlighted that and say, no, you need to just get a hold of him. And this was in the very beginning of like my partnership with Argos Productions, and in the back of my mind's eye, it's like, oh my gosh, like I gotta figure out a way to fund this because the episode has to be over there.
Yeah.
We have to go to council. We gotta catch him, while he's helping, his customers, the people that he serves, and in my mind's eye, and then we're gonna have the interview with you at the barn, and all this other stuff, and then I started doing math, and I was like, yeah, that's going to be very expensive. So I'm glad that we still get to do it. We still get to share this story. Yeah, man. Argos Productions doesn't mess around. Yeah. just yesterday it was all like shamrocks and like all sand patties, and now it's like spring and some little birds and super chill.
Yeah.
And also a lot of history and whatnot. Like all these cameras have belonged to like Erica's like relatives, their family that have been in photography.
I see
Some of these things
Sony
are.
handy cam right here.
And then there's some stuff that I don't even know how old it is. But yeah, man, thank you so much, Rich, for sharing that. That means a lot. We pieced it together, I think, pretty good. Before we start saying our goodbyes, I want to touch on one last thing, okay? Yeah. And I don't want to mean to put you on the spot. You've been busy. Your artwork.
Yeah,
please,
sure.
Please talk about that a little bit before we have to let you go.
I wish I had more time to paint, man. That's really one of my passions. You know, I mentioned fly fishing and skiing, and with kids, you know, the only time I've got to paint is late into the night. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of a night owl, but I have this job I've got to go to in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, I like to paint landscapes and oils on canvas.
You're pretty effing good.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a passion for sure. I think it's the meditation of it. You know, you run into these challenges when you're painting, and it's just this constant problem solving, and it's a solitary endeavor. And I just kind of zone out the world, and everything else melts away when I do it. So it's really kind of like a therapy for me. That's awesome. Kind of like fly fishing, you know, standing in the river, and you've got this really singular focus for a period of time. And all of the other noise that you have that normally, you know, that background chatter in our busy minds, it just goes away. And I love painting, and I wish I had more time for it. Yeah. I'll be making some time for it soon.
Good.
I kind of go in spurts, you know, like I'll do a few paintings and then it's all I can take, because I'll be up till like 2 a.m, like days on
just
end to grind these things out. No, I'll do them a group at a time. I should find a spot to do a show or something like that. Maybe when I get that put together,
let me know if you need help with that. I'm sure you don't need my help, but if you need my help,
it's just finding time. Man.
Just let me know.
It's the most valuable thing.
I have time. Well, once you have the product, once you have more of I shouldn't call it product, but once you have more of your work.
It kind of is a product.
It is, but I don't want to. I think with art, yes, because like our guest yesterday during the live stream, Nathan Warner, he's on the business side of art, but I love the way that you describe it. It's like it's your therapy.
Yeah.
And it is something that if you're not careful about, it can be unbalanced. So you clearly want to do more of it. You need the time.
Yeah.
And once you find it, that helps you be the best person that you can be. Best father, best husband, best dude at work, the best version of you. But if you put too much on it, now it's 4 a.m.
Yeah,
and then you gotta get, and then you get like 2 hours of sleep, and then you show up at work, and then perhaps there's not gonna be much for you to give to that endeavor. So
it's a balancing act, man. It's like everything else.
Yeah, it's really cool though. I'm glad. Where can we look at your work? Where can we find your work?
I've got a little bit up on my Instagram. I should do a little bit better. Maybe this will motivate me to make some posts.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just know that you have more of it. I got
more than I've got out there. I don't really
see.
I don't work on showing people that much.
That's okay.
So my Instagram handle's at Rich Tate Artist, all one word.
Okay.
And you'll probably just see a bunch of pictures of fish that my friends and I have caught and some skiing and stuff like that, but that's okay too.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and we're gonna throw that up on the screen when this goes on our YouTube channel. So you'll have about a week from right now.
Okay, I'll get to work. Man. I gotta post some
just
stuff.
A little here and there,
Sure.
like you have some work, just show it off. Show it off to me, please. I would love to see it.
Absolutely.
I would love to see it.
Absolutely.
Rich, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your kind heart, your awesome stories, and like a true leader, highlighting those, you know, in your work family that make like the business, the family business, the M&W that has been, you know, here for several years, and of course your family has been here since 1800s, 1890s.
Kind of crazy.
You know, thank you for sharing all of that. That's really cool. It means a lot to
Yeah.
me. It makes me very happy. You look well, and I'm so glad that we have been able to connect since I moved back, you know, 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you and your family very much. For those of you at home watching, you see an M&W store, convenience, grocery, go hit them up. Make sure you go and spend your money here with your local businesses. Make sure you hit up that Instagram for Rich, which is, what is it again?
Rich Tate artist.
Rich Tate Artist. All right, look him up on the gram, because when this comes out on YouTube, he'll have some more of his work up there, and it's really fascinating and amazing stuff. So I love it. I know I'm biased,
Thanks, man.
but they can look at it themselves and they can determine that. Last but not least, as always, immense thanks and gratitude to Argos Productions. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Erica, Justin, sweet baby James out in the back, running all the hardware. Thank you guys so very much. If you need any production work, any film, any content for your social media, if you're trying to launch a podcast, if you're trying to work on anything creative, make sure that you check out the link at the bottom for Argos Productions and you get in contact with them. As always, thank you very much for your time, sharing your time with us. Thank you again, Rich and Idaho. Get
Thanks,
out there
Jaime.
and be kind to somebody. Cheers. That was awesome.